Hey y'all. So I recorded Kesalul Wela'lin. I recorded a video last night to put up to talk about everything that's been going on, but the microphone wasn't on. I think I remembered that, but I was in the flow and I was hyped last night. So this is time, so I'm keeping it fucking short. Those of you that aren't aware, the Bones of Muddy Banks Bomb 1 Nout is out right right now. It's up on agentSKYHOUSE. I'll be posting it more publicly shortly. I've been busy getting into a store. It's at Blue Stockings in New York City already. I'm talking to Strand next. I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm talking to word over here in JC. But anyways, I have the next song, book installment, and possibly a music video at the same time are possibly all coming out in November. I'm not giving exact dates because I don't rush myself. We are doing recording for music video stuff now. I'm working more on TTOC, Turn the Other Cheek stuff with Kesalul, and a myriad of other individuals, many of which you already know, but I'm not announcing who until I get the explicit okay from everybody. There's been a lot more photography going on. There's my alarm. I will talk to y'all later. Y'all for being around, and expect more videos when you can. If you want to see me daily, go on Patreon and Papa Joe. Guayo. So, actually I should probably press start on that. There we go. So, you're probably going to hear noise in the background, that's fine. This is the cover to the Bones of Muddy Banks first comic, which, I finished a day before I expected, which was, kind of crazy. I was saying recently to somebody I've known for a while and who's a patron of mine too, which I'll be going into all the Wela'lins, the thanks at the end, or maybe I'll edit some in the beginning. But yeah, like sitting there watching this exist, it's kind of crazy. Patrons are pretty aware. Hold on. So basically, like, I was saying to them how sitting there looking at this existing was just like, I didn't know what to do at first when, like, I sat there and realized, like, oh, that was the last detail. There's literally nothing left to do here. And the reason for that is because, so this piece is actually a big painting that's on my wall, the canvas I found down by the marina at Marin out here in Jersey City. I was walking around, and it was a nice life reward for things that were going on that day. But, like, so I don't finish things. Those of you that have watched my stuff forever ago, be it from, like, I don't know, like 1999 to like 2008 or something, so like more than 11 years ago now, would usually see, like, further along the lines, it was more of, like, you know, finished illustrations and really crisp lines, and, like, well, a lot of people didn't realize, or maybe plenty did, I don't know, was that so much of the work that I actually did, because I would sit there and draw for, like, I don't even know how long at a time. I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't eat, and it was not healthy for me. And this was back in my, like, 20s, and also younger, when I was, you know, a teenager and a kid. I think the only thing that stopped me from continually drawing was, you know, having either parents around or school or whatever, which I was skipping and drawing, or drawing in class. But anyways, with everything that I've drawn, the moment, and painted and stuff like that, but especially drawing, like, digital got me really going and layering things again back in the day. And so there would be, like, an entire digital piece underneath the piece I would post, and you would only see it through, like, a window or something. But I would spend endless time on it, and then I would cover it with something else. So, like, so much of letting how my traditional work has gotten over me, you know, going through like my trauma detox and everything else, and watching it meld with the digital doing what it does has been really nice, because I'm still getting like crazy amount of layering. My style has gone through a lot. Part of that is that, like everything else I do, I'm just like a constantly shifting chameleon thing. So I would, you know, like any artist, I would see things now and then. I'd be like, oh, okay, well now that's a part of my brain, and so now I'm gonna see where that takes me. And with me being such a mix, like my storytelling is also everywhere and all over the place, and always has been. So like watching all the stuff that I do, be it now like my writing and my illustration and my painting and my music, has now all just started to just flow together properly. And don't get me wrong, it's like, it's definitely a struggle. Like every day I feel myself going like, oh, well, people like will not get this, or nobody's actually gonna be able to see what the hell is in this image. Like I know, but nobody else knows what the fuck is in there, and it's just like I had to do a lot of getting over myself about that. Something that definitely helped was so this just got posted a couple days ago, and one of the first places that I showed anything about this stuff, besides on my Patreon, because my patrons get to see everything, especially if they're on Pocket Charm. Pocket Charm gets to see really everything. But Anthrocon that just passed, like I had been there once like 5 years ago. I grew up in the furry scene where like I knew a lot of people that went. I would hear stories all the time from everybody, and due to, you know, financial circumstances, etc., in my life, like I was never able to go. And so this time when I went with just 11 copies of the whips, the work in progress of this comic, and I got to see how absolutely overwhelming my work is for people. Don't get me wrong, like my table at the Artist Alley was like just covered in stuff, because I mean my artwork is like everything else, so there's just so many little projects there and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun putting this part on right here. I know I haven't been really commenting on like me drawing, but the paper there for that joint, or whatever you want to call it, but it's a joint. That rolled paper right there started to come out a lot more like birch bark, which tends to be the case a lot of time for me texture-wise. Birch is something like has always been a big part of my work, whether people realize it or not. I had no intention when I put this on the computer. Pictures got taken, put it on here. I had no intention of like actually going through and doing more than just a little bit of like black lining. A lot of me even bothering to do that and getting back into that mode of doing that is because of BB being like, listen, it would help for people to see what the fuck is going on. And it's just like, yeah, no, I know. And so now I've eventually done that. And yeah, and see stuff with this, like right there, that little piece that just went by. Now it's not even on the screen anymore. I almost want to rewind, but I'm not going to. There it was again. A lot of the wave crests look like hands to me, so it is so hard for me to not go in there and stop myself from adding it. And so that's kind of where I was going before, and then, went off on a tangent because it's me. My art never finishes. It doesn't. Like, I don't see art as a thing that actually finishes. Because how can it? You can always add more to it. And even if the person no longer has in their possession anymore, anyone can add things to that. Like, there's nothing stopping people besides, like artistic rules of that you don't draw on other people's things and blah, 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 blah. Which I'm not even going to go down that that wormhole. But so because of that, I had to set up this barrier for myself, which is what this little white orb here, this sphere on the thing is. So I guess because it's 2D, it'd be a circle. But anyways, this oval here, there you go. So this oval was there to literally stop me. And by the way, as we get further along, you'll see there's a couple things on here, like these two, the fee, and was that a banana? No, it wasn't a banana.
Glazed on, glazed on, glazed on, glazed on, glazed under a sun. Like feet slipping on the would-be ice of mirrors under your feet. Like slipping, like slipping, like slipping, like slipping, like slipping. And then you wake up.
So once you get to about halfway point in this, like, I'll put up a little, like, okay, there's going to be nudity now. But it's art, so who cares? What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so the oval is there to be able to keep me within some certain range of not over-detailing things. Something that people won't know, unless they watch this video probably, is, so all that going on right there is because that shoe thing is also a lighter, and so the flame that's coming out of it is also getting like hit with all the water coming off of Muddy Banks's face and hands and stuff like that, but also the fact that the lighter also has like this whole waterfall going down. It's actually filled with water in the bottom and is basically like a little temple, because that's the whole thing with most of my art now, is like it's not just one thing, because what is like, it goes into the whole thing of like, and I mean, if you read the comics and the stories and all the stuff that I'm actually letting myself put out there now after being so quiet on the internet for so long, it goes into the whole thing of like how Muddy Banks is a creature that a Meshipashu, among other things, which is an Algonquin type of dragon, and so it goes through what it's like to go through a life process for him, which is that as you grow and you get bigger and you go from being like this little, because Meshipashus are water dragons, they're underwater lynxes, as they come out of the water as babies, and this is just, you know, like morphology stuff that has just kind of like downloaded itself into my head throughout my life. I'm a firm believer I don't come up with any of these things, they just tell me that they exist. In the case of Meshipashu stuff, there's obviously like stories that have already existed, and those stories have gotten me through parts of my life, and so because of that I've been able to learn by learning these stories and appreciating them, and let that go by, and appreciating them. It's nice out and it's been raining a lot, so everybody's enjoying being able to zoom along here in Jersey on their motorcycles. But so because of appreciating those stories, the Meshipashu story, which I'll just go into briefly and then I'll be able to explain more. Basically, so once upon a time, way back in the day before colonists showed up in the U.S., there were two women, femmes. Gender is questionable. Nowadays it's typically said either women or it's been changed to one boy, which don't even get me started on that. They are going out to a huge potluck across the Great Lakes, and basically, you know, everybody's getting together and they're told, and everybody's told, you know, don't stop on this island, don't stop on this island in the Great Lakes, don't stop there because there's a thing there and it'll kill you, blah blah blah. And everybody's like, okay, I say blah blah blah, not like disrespectfully, but we all know that where this story is probably going, which is, so these two femmes, they proceed to, you know, be canoeing across the Great Lakes. They get tired, and what are you gonna do? They decide they want to stop on some land for a little bit, and so and if you don't know what the Great Lakes are, just pull up a map of the U.S. and look at the top of Canada, and then think about canoeing across it, and not stopping that often on land. You would probably stop on this island too. So they stop on the island, and when they get out on the island, the Meshipashu comes out and attacks them. Now, depending on who tells you the story, there's different ways, of course, this attack can go because it's left loose for the storyteller to tell. So, my thing is always like, well, does it come out of the bushes or the water, or is it the island? Do they step on the island and the dragon goes, "You are stepping on me," and proceeds to be like, "Excuse you," and or like flip out or whatever. And so this is where everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well, the two femmes die, blah blah blah." That's, you know, the typical story of you should listen to people when they tell you not to do things, blah blah blah. But no, that's not how this works. So so the Meshipashu, you know, comes out to attack them, and one of the femmes grabs her paddle, her oar, and whacks him on the ass. And is like, "I will strike you like thunder." And, well, she says that first. And then she whacks him, and his tail, which is copper, breaks off. And she takes it, and is like, see, this is what happens when you screw around with me. And proceeds to take it to the potluck. And basically, at the potluck, at the powwow, that she's just like, okay, so this is going to make sure all of our people are protected from now on, so that's all the more reason we should band together. So because of that, because Muddy Banks is Meshipashu, he goes through the life process of, or they go, because gender is whatever, and I realize saying he will make plenty of people think that this is a masculine, only one-gendered, cisgendered individual, and that's not the case. So they, basically, as they go through their life, and that's a little LaRouche there. Oh, look, it's about to be gone. Whoops. What's the LaRouche? If you don't know what that is, stay around. If you're from back in the day, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're probably being like, what the fuck? What was that tiny thing that just happened? I wonder. But anyways, I should probably comment more on my art, but I'm not going to. But so as they go through their growing process and their life process, to become a mountainous island, they have to start off as like a tiny little like amoeba in the ocean and go through the entire evolutionary process of self. And while doing so, because like people don't really think, like when it comes to like giant ass creatures, they have an ecosystem on them. I mean, you are an ecosystem now. Your body is made up of all these things, whether you pay attention to them or not, that keep you alive and going. So imagine going through the process of like growing into this giant thing that like slowly over time, like cities and forests and towns and animals and people start to live on you. And you gotta deal with that. And go through the life process of accepting that like, not only are they there, but you have to go through your life no matter how it necessarily affects them. Not ignorantly and not in a greedy way. Not in a way that inherently screws over everything because you just don't care. You take care of this, everything that is you, because you are this island, this mountain. But you don't forsake your own everything for just trying to care for a part of it. You go with your flow. You accept life and death. You accept what you have to be. And so that's a huge chunk of the bones of Muddy Banks is going through that process. That's basically the entirety of it, because it was one of my many ways of slowly getting back into being able to tell stories by, you know, purging the things that one feels. Looks like this is where I'm going to cut off because I'm just doing menial save stuff on here. So yeah, I'll cut it off there. So I'll go back and I'll put my thanks, my well-ends. So Kesalul and meskeyi, everybody. Wela'lin.
So I'm meant to keep my head mindful, and see. About the floating photos again, if I look like then everyone's free, so 12, 6. Eternal balance of love.
Yes. I am consumed with an unending fury.
She was wonderful with her hands. Yet I keep hurting. I really